We have people who live in our neighborhood who may or may not have a house. They might be living in a condition that's very different from those who attend First United Methodist Church. The neighborhood banquet is an idea that Brant Graves and I and Tricia all kind of came up with, looking for ways to kind of bridge that gap and build some community. And the way that we came up with was this idea of a banquet. We did choose the word banquet specifically because in the translation of scripture that Brant and I are familiar with, Jesus tells the parable of when you host a banquet, invite someone who cannot repay you.
You begin to understand the words of Christ in a different way. When it's raining, do you know the name of somebody that's soaking wet because it's raining right now and doesn't have an option to get inside? As you build these relationships, names will start firing off in your head.
I think that a shared meal is a really disarming activity that's inherently human that we all participate in together. So I wanted to provide a meal that may or may not be something that people in the neighborhood have access to. I really wanted to focus on kind of fresh vegetables. So a couple different soups. I did a salad course with a fried vegetable fritter, and then I did a nice leg of chicken with a root vegetable mash and roasted broccoli, and a couple different desserts, key lime tart and a flourless black forest cake.
I think the food was incredible. I think moving forward, my instruction to future food coordinators will be bring something close to your heart and offer that as a gift to the neighbor.
There's so many things I hope to achieve. Mead's Corner, which was an outreach of this church, was the meeting place when I originally started back in 2008. I was just a 21-year-old kid that got other kids together and said, let's do something good. This church has helped me out in knowing this neighborhood, because I want the rest of this church to get involved in knowing their neighbors better.
We had enough people to do all the work, but we didn't have enough people to do all the work and to have people sit and actually create those relationships, which is the whole purpose of the thing. You probably need a bigger volunteer base so that the same volunteer isn't both setting up and serving and tearing down and doing dishes, and that turns into a really long night.
It was only 25 people or so, and there's 2 hours of dishes afterwards.
Of course, there's always the finances. I think trusting that we can do this without it becoming a burden on a budget line somewhere else where we're trying to do ministry in another way.
Everything ran just under $300 for all of the food for the entire evening, which I feel really good about.
And moving forward, as we add people, that'll add to that number just naturally.
Yeah.
I hope to make this a regular thing that happens at least 4 or 5 times a year.
Working alongside the volunteers, shared work, I think makes connections. I got to know a couple people a little bit better and got to have some good conversations, got to catch up with some friends.
Working alongside people that I've known through the gathering for years, and yet I feel like we really shared something unique and special.
The gospel is very much roll up your sleeves, let's get down to business.
When you see people in the parking lot, regardless of what your first thought might be, try and change that narrative to neighbor instead of, oh, that person is X, Y, or Z.
You begin to understand the meals you eat differently. You begin to understand the clothes you put on differently. It's something that happens slowly over time and you don't even notice it. It's life-changing.